Our investigations were what fruits could float in water and cope. Do it over. Now we're going to go for the blackberry. Oh, no. Wait, it's sinking.
I think it'll pull apart.
Yeah, like wait, it's floating.
Wait, what?
It's floating. Bobbing. Well, I think we need to add more bobbing.
You do the blueberry, I'll do the apple. It is floating.
It's floating.
The ones that sank, these two sank, these two floated, and that's floating, and that's floating.
I wasn't that surprised because I knew the fizz would pop up the fruit because the fizz made it all pop out, and I thought, but I was a bit surprised by the water, but I found out that some of the little ones, the water got inside them and made it heavier, and they sunk.
I like seeing the results of my investigation.
It was an interesting investigation.
I love the big science.
Hello and welcome to the Winter Livestream 2023. My name is Roger and I'm coming live from the Science Oxford Centre, and in fact we're in the Science Oxford Centre classroom today. I hope you can hear me okay. We have had a few technical issues with our microphone, but fingers crossed you can hear me loud and clear. I'm not here alone today. I have my able assistant Ian, who is over here, and I've also got Daniel and Sarah running the show, getting everything beamed straight into your classrooms this morning. I'm going to talk to you over the next half an hour or so about one of my favourite science topics, and that science topic is food. We're going to talk about what's in the foods we eat, how we can know what's in the foods we eat, and also what happens to them after they go in here. We're going to involve you as much as possible. We're going to ask you plenty of questions. We'd love for you to interact with us via the chat. If your teachers or adults in your room can help, write things down, send them in to us, and we'll be able to give you a shout out for all the things you're feeding back to us. We started off with a question that was up for a little while. It was the question, why do we eat? And I understand you've been sending in some really good messages for us. We've got one here that says, we eat food for nutrients and energy that we need for our bodies. Fantastic suggestion. And we also got from Year 1 at Headington Prep, we've got, we think we need to eat to give us energy, to keep us alive, to make us healthy, and to help us grow. And those are fantastic suggestions. I sometimes eat just because I really like food. Sometimes it's just because it's delicious stuff. Sometimes I eat to keep me warm, and having a hot meal helps me out. Sometimes I eat to keep in touch with my family. We sit down around the table to eat. But one of the main reasons we eat is to get that nutrient, to get all that nutrition into our bodies, to give us the energy to grow, to move, to keep ourselves healthy, to repair ourselves if we get injured. And I've got I was thinking about this the other day. How do we know how much nutrition there is in food? Now, I noticed when I was eating my breakfast this morning, this was my breakfast cereal, and on the back, we've got lots of useful information about nutrition that we can get from our breakfast cereals. It includes what fats they contain, how much carbohydrate they have in them, how much protein there is, and other things like fibres and salts. And sometimes they have a handy colour-coded thing that tells us how much we should eat in a day to keep healthy. But not everything comes in packets. Not everything comes packaged. I've got some examples here. Fruit and vegetables, they don't have packets on them. So how do scientists know how much nutrition there is in food and substances like that? Well, this candle I've got over here, if I can get this lit, this candle is a little clue as to how scientists do that. So you've probably got candles around the house at this time of year. maybe you've got to think about this topic yourself. There we go. Now, as I said, this candle is a clue. Hang on, what are you doing? What are you? Oh my goodness! What happened there? Well, if we look closely at what Ian has left behind, we'll probably notice that this wasn't actually a candle. This is made from a banana, and on the top, the bit that I managed to get lit, was a Brazil nut. And nuts contain lots of energy, lots of nutrition in the form of oils and fats. The banana does too, but that doesn't burn so well because it's got lots of water in there as well. Now, scientists do this process. They actually burn food to give them a clue as to how much nutrition there is in them. It's a scientific process called calorimetry. And we're going to try a bit of calorimetry live with you today, where we're going to burn a couple of my favourite snacks. Ian's popping them down for us there. We have got a what's it, a cheesy corn puff, and we've got a bit of Brazil nut there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set these alight, and I want you just to have a think. You don't need to put this in the chat. Have a think. What will happen if we try and burn a what's it and a Brazil nut? So I'm going to get that going. Let's see if we can get that lit. Oh, I can hear it sizzling away already. Okay. And let's see if we can get the nut going. Wow, that's really going already. Now, obviously, if you ever do this at home, you must make sure you've got adult supervision. It can be quite dangerous. But we can see both of those foods are cooking away quite nicely. They're producing quite a lot of smoke. We've got a lot of heat coming off those. And calorimetry is a process where scientists burn the carbohydrate, the protein, and the fat in foods, the what's it's gone out already. And they see how much heat is given off. And that gives us a really good clue as to how much nutrition there is in a food. Now, I think we'll probably, Ian, take that Brazil nut away, because I think that's going to keep going for quite a long time. I wonder if you guessed how much there was in there. And we've got another experiment we want to do. Now, you probably saw it. It's quite hard to get those foods lit. And I've got a food that's going to demonstrate how we can make things burn a bit more easily. I'm going to start off by trying to burn some custard. Now, I love bananas and custard, so it kind of goes with our candle earlier. And I'm going to tip a bit of my custard into this dish here. We'll pour it in like that. Oh, it's gloopy. Lovely custard. I love custard. There we go. There's our custard. And what we're going to do is we're going to see if we can get liquid custard to burn. Now, we said that the banana is quite hard to burn because of all the water it's got in it. So let's see if we can do any better with our liquid custard. I'm going to use a really hot flame here. I'm going to use a blowtorch. There we go. And we're going to have a close look and see what happens when we try and burn custard in its liquid form. You see that? It's bubbling away. You might be able to hear it on the mic. It's sizzling. There's a little bit of blackening on the top, but it's not really catching flame. It's certainly boiling a bit on the surface. But it's not doing terribly well. We've got a bit of a creme brulee situation there. Now, custard is made from a dried powder added to water. So what I thought is we could maybe take the liquid away and we could try burning the dried powder. So let's take that away. Thank you. We'll put some of the powder there. We've got a nice mountain of powder. That's dried custard powder. And without the water, we might get a bit more heat. And fire needs heat. So let's see if we can get some custard powder to burn on its own. Do the same thing. Oh, it's going a little bit brown there. It smells lovely, but it's not really burning very well at the moment. Now, I think I know why that is, because as well as heat and fuel, we also need oxygen, we need air. And when it's in a pile like that, or in a bowl, it's not getting enough oxygen or air, the custard. So we've got a way we can change this. We can make the custard have a little bit more air. Over here, I've got my setup. And this time, I've got the custard in the funnel here. Let's change camera, that's it perfectly. We've got the custard in the bowl here, and I've got a setup where I can blow air through the custard, and it will send a cloud of custard powder into the air. Now, I think when we add lots of air to our custard powder, we're going to get a really spectacular fire. So let's see if that happens. Now, before I do this, I'm going to put my glasses on, safety specs, and Ian has kindly turned down the lights. Let's see what happens when we set fire to a custard powder cloud. Here we go. Right, I'm going to count down. Maybe you can join me in your classrooms. I'm going to start at 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Whoa! My goodness. Right, now, things like that I find always look better in slow-mo, so I'm going to leave you for a second or two to watch a slow-mo replay of that. Okay, that was pretty impressive. Always looks better in slow-mo. Definitely not one to try at home, but you can see when we put lots of air in with our fuel, our custard powder, all that nutrition goes up in a huge great cloud of fire. Really, really impressive. Now, we have made a bit of a mess here, so I'm going to get busy tidying up after that fireball, and we're going to leave you with a question. We're going to put this question up on the screen there for you. We would like to know which of these drinks is the healthiest? And we really want you to have a chat with your partners, come up with a reason why, and then post them in the chat. We've got milk, cola, juice, and water. We're going to leave you for a few minutes, have a chat amongst yourselves, post your responses in the chat, and we'll see you back here shortly. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you've been busy chatting about our question. I'd love to see your answers. I think we've got some coming up on the chat right now. So you and Headington have said milk is good for our bones, but water is more healthy as we would die if we don't drink it. Amazing, very good. A few people have suggested their favourite drinks, maybe milk. We've got the water is the healthiest. Yeah, fantastic. Oh yes, half of the class think water and half think milk because of the calcium. Amazing, some really good discussions being had. I love the idea of there being a debate in class. So I think there's really good points being made there. Milk is very, very healthy when you need it. It's really important to make sure that when we consume foods and drinks, that we do it as part of a balanced diet. When you are young and growing, you need that milk for its nutrition. You need the energy that it gives you. You need the calcium that it provides you as you grow. Water is something that we would die within a few days if we weren't able to get it. So absolutely, water is essential to us. But all of the other drinks also contain some water too. What things like fruit juice also contain is lots and lots of sugar, which is brilliant if you're running around a lot, but not so good if you're just sat in front of the TV. And things like Coke, Diet Coke, are fantastic. They don't contain sugar, but they do have additional things, flavourings in there, which make them taste nice. So if you're having them along with a balanced meal, then they're really nice additions to your diet. But as I said earlier, it's really important to make sure that we don't always drink the same thing and drink too much of it, and we make sure it's in as part of a balanced diet. I think you were having that debate in your classrooms. Well done. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to see what happens to our food and our drink once it goes inside our mouths. And to do this, I brought along my lunch. I'm going to pop this in front of our close-up camera so you can see what I've got planned for my lunch later on. You'll be able to see there, I have got a cup of coffee. I'm a teacher, I need a cup of coffee. I've also got some of my favourite what's-its. I've got some cheese sandwiches there, and I've got a healthy banana too. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to put this food into a model of our digestive system. Our digestive system is this amazing system that runs from our mouth right through our bodies, and it takes those big bits of food and it turns them into smaller pieces that we can use, that we can transport around the body where we need them. And the first part of our model is, I'm going to pop this in front of the close-up camera, is our mouth, okay? Oh, there we go. We've got our mouth, and our mouth has some teeth in it. So the first part of our teeth start getting to work by chopping up the food into bite-sized chunks. So I'm tearing it apart with my fingers to model this. I'm tearing apart my cheese sandwich into some chewable sections. You don't want to talk with your mouth full, but this is a pretend mouth. I'm going to tip all of my what's-its in there because I love what's-its. Let's tip all of those in there. And let's add a bit of healthy banana too, to make sure that we're keeping ourselves full of nutrients. There we go, there's our banana going in. Get rid of that, fantastic. Right, now we're going to add some coffee, but you could have another drink instead. You don't have to drink coffee. There we go. And as well as the coffee that I'm drinking with my lunch, I'm also going to model what happens when you add a bit of saliva. I've got some blue liquid here, which is a pretend version of our saliva, because our saliva is one of the first things that starts working on our food as it goes through our digestive system. It starts breaking down some of our food or as soon as it's in our mouth, and it allows a paste to form. Now, I'm going to get busy with my molars now. I'm going to start crunching down on that food. I wouldn't normally have quite this much food in my mouth at the same time, but maybe you can see that food is getting ground down in my model mouth, and it's already turning into a lovely paste. Let's just work that a little bit. Good to chew your food. It helps you get as much nutrition out of the food as you can. The smaller pieces you break it down into, the more you get from your food when you eat. Worth remembering that. So, we're going to spend a little bit of time chewing, and then we swallow. And I'm going to move that back to full screen, because Ian is going to bring on the next part of our digestive system, which is our esophagus. Our esophagus is this tube that runs down from the back of our mouth down to the lower part of our abdomen. And our esophagus is, the food only takes about 7 seconds to travel down our esophagus, but it's covered in muscles. So it means that if you were to eat a sandwich standing on your heads, the food would still go down your body towards your feet, even though you're upside down. So that's pretty cool. I wouldn't recommend it though. Much better to eat standing up or sitting down. So we're going to put our esophagus into the next part of the digestive system that we'll come to in a minute. I'm just going to move. Oh, could you bring over the tray, please? Just going to get the tray. Thank you. There we go. Right. So we're going to take our mouth and we're going to empty our mouth into our esophagus. I'm going to do it from height, so hopefully you can see the food gloop down the esophagus. It's a bit quicker than 7 seconds here, but there it goes, all the way down. Fantastic. There we go. Hold on to that for a second here. Thank you. I'll swap you out there, and I'm going to give you that as well. Sorry for that. Thank you. Right. Now, the food has ended up in the next part of our digestive system. That is our stomach. And our stomach is a bag. It doesn't have a ziplock like my one, but it is a bag. And in the stomach, some other liquids are added. Our bodies produce these liquids. The first one, which I'm modeling with this green liquid, is stomach acid. And our stomach acid has a few functions, but one of them is to kill any junk, germs or bugs that might be on the food. But it also prepares the environment, makes it suitable for another chemical that gets added in our stomachs, which is called enzymes. And I'm modeling this with this yellow liquid here. Now, our enzymes are chemicals that break down the food even more. So I'm going to zip up my bag, and I'm going to do what happens in your stomachs for an hour or two after you eat a meal. I'm going to squelch it together. Normally it'll be your muscles in your stomachs doing this. I'm using my hands. And it's these muscles that are around your stomach that create those gurgles and rumbles. If you're hungry and your stomach hasn't got any food in, it can make weird noises as the muscles move things that aren't there around. So we've got a lovely paste of food in there. After an hour or two in our stomachs, it's ready for the next part of its journey. And our next part of its journey is going to be modelled using a pair of tights. Thank you, Ian. I'm just going to hold this up to the camera. This is called our small intestine. Now, it's called our small intestine, even though it's actually really, really long. In reality, in your bodies, your small intestine is probably 6 or 7 meters long, which is probably the width of the room you're sitting in right now. So it's really, really long, but it's very, very narrow. So we're going to hold our tights up here, and Ian's going to open them up for me. While I open up our bag, I'm going to cut a hole in the corner of our bag so that our stomach has somewhere to go out and enter the small intestine. Just there. Right, let's hold that up and tip. Ooh, there it goes. Slop, 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 slop. And it's gone into our small intestine. Can I hand you back? Swap it, thank you. And our small intestine, like these tights, is a very, it's got lots and lots of tiny, tiny holes in it, which allows all this liquid that we produce by chopping the food down and making it smaller and smaller. It allows that liquid to go through the walls of the small intestine. So I'm giving it a little squeeze, as it would have muscles in there as well. And when I've done that, you'll be able to see that a lot of the nutrition from the food has left the small intestine, it's gone through the walls into the bloodstream. And the blood is then able to carry that nutrition around the body where it's needed. So let me just hold up my tray, and you'll be able to see there's lots of gloopy nutrition in that tray, which would be in the blood, traveling around to your brain and to your muscles to make you move and grow and repair yourself if you need to. Now, it spends about 5 hours in our small intestine because it's a long journey down that 6 or 7 meter long section of our intestines before it gets to its final destination, which is the large intestine. The large intestine. And I'm going to model the large intestine using a towel, because the large intestine's purpose is to suck as much water out of that food that's left behind as possible. By now, all we're really left with is the fibre that we can't digest, parts of the food that weren't any use to us in the first place, but we want to get that water back before it leaves our bodies. So I'm going to lay my small intestine down. It's now becoming my large intestine, and I'm going to roll it up in my towel, and I'm going to give it a really good squeeze to get as much water out of it as we possibly can. We don't want to lose water because, as we said earlier, Water is really important to us. I'm going to give it a really good squeeze. And Ian, would you mind just taking that tray out of the way? Because I have got the last place our food is going to go. I've got a potty, so I'm sure you know what we've got now. We have turned that food. Remember, we had a cheese sandwich, some Wotsits, a banana, and a cup of coffee. And we've turned that into a long brown sausage. I think we all know what we're talking about, don't we? We've turned it into a poo. Now, we're going to produce a poo in our potty, and I'm going to take the end of my large intestine, I'm going to cut a little hole in it, and we're going to see what comes out the other end. Let's have a look. Right, it's quite stinky, I warn you. It doesn't look terribly pleasant, but here it comes. 2 days, or 1 or 2 days after you eat your food, you will sit down and you will produce a poo. That's the final destination of your cheese sandwich. Let me show you this close up. Let's see how it looks. Oh, there we go. Not a bad looking poo there. It looks quite hard to see, isn't it? There we go. A big sloppy poo. Fantastic work. Right, now I'm going to ask Ian to tidy this one up, I think, while I set you another question. We've got a question for you up on the screen. We would like you, in your classes, to have a little chat about whose poos is whose. Which animal has produced each of the poos in these pictures? We've got picture A, which looks a bit like a bit of leaf or something. We've got picture B, which looks like it's on a leaf, but it looks like a big, I don't know, kind of green pile. And then we've got that weird looking poo C. Which one has been produced by a fox, which has been produced by a caterpillar, and which do you think has been produced by a pigeon? And if you've got reasons why you think that, throw them in the chat too, because we'd love to hear them. We're going to give you a few minutes to have a discussion about that, and we'll see you back here shortly. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you've had fun discussing that. Not something you do every day. Right, I know you've sent some answers in. We're going to scroll across on the screen right now, and then we'll have a little chat. But when I see a poo like this, I always look at the size, the shape, maybe the colour. You can even look at what's inside them, which is a really good clue, or possibly the smell sometimes gives you a hint as to what it was. But we've got an answer here, which is A is caterpillar, because it's tiny, and the poo is also tiny. B is pigeon, because I've seen it like that for real. And C is probably fox, because it's more like from an animal or human. Fantastic suggestions. So let's have a look. Poo A up here is indeed the caterpillar poo. It's on a leaf. The caterpillar has probably been walking along that leaf, munching away. It certainly looks like it. And as it goes, it drops tiny, tiny poos. It's a small animal, it produces small poos. And the poos are made up of the digested plant material it's been eating. The middle one, B, is indeed a pigeon. I've even got a pigeon here with me right now. Pigeon poo does look like this. Pigeons don't actually eat meat. They tend to be herbivores. And so their poo is often made up of the leftover plant material they can't digest. So it often looks green, like this one does. And interestingly, pigeons or all birds produce their wee at the same time from the same place. So that white spot that you see alongside the pigeon poo is actually its urine. And poo, C, down the bottom there, is indeed a fox. Well done if you guessed that one. A fox poo often has evidence of what it's been eating as well. And this one, if you look closely, I think you can see bits of white, which might be bone or teeth. You can definitely see some fur in there as well. So that suggests to me that our fox has been out on the prowl and has been eating, predating on animals while it's been out there. And that's what it's left behind. So well done if you got those right. As I said earlier, we can see often what animal made a poo by looking at, really closely, at what it looks like. And Ian has found this poo in the Science Oxford Centre, and he's presenting it to me here. I'm just going to pop it in front of the camera so you can have a close look. And I thought maybe we could work out what left this poo behind. So if we look closely, we can see it's brown. It's quite large if you look at the size compared to my hand. And it looks like it's got something in it. I'll tell you what, I'm going to have a real poke around in this one. Got my gloves on. You should never touch poo because it might contain germs, but I have got gloves on today. And we're just going to break this apart. Let's have a look. There we go. Oh, there's definitely some evidence of some fruit or nuts or vegetables or something. So this animal has been eating fruit, nuts and vegetables. Let's have a look. I can't see any hair or teeth in there. So maybe it's a herbivore or an omnivore. I'll tell you what, it doesn't smell too bad. Yeah, I think he's been playing a trick on us. Hang on a sec. Oh, that's delicious, Ian. I think he's playing a trick on us. Ian has made this poo out of, let me have a look. Oh, it's got fruit in there. It's got nuts in there. I think there's some biscuit bits in there. And, oh, chocolate. Fantastic work, Ian. Really good. All right, I'm going to leave that to one side now. It's lunchtime soon, and that's got me going. We've got to recap what we've been doing today. We have been talking about the nutrition that's in food. We've learned about the different types of nutrition that are in our foods. We've learned about how we can find out about the nutrition in our food. And then we've seen what happens when the food goes in here and comes right through out the other side. And then we've been looking at what's left behind. We've been looking at the poo that's produced and clues as to what animal left it behind for us. Thank you for joining us, guys. We wouldn't be able to do this without you. It's been a real pleasure having your comments in the chat today. We've got one last thing we want to leave you with as we go. We have got a question we'd like you to talk about and send us your ideas in. Now, here at the Science Oxford Centre, we have got an exhibit called Guess What? So, thank you. There we go. And in it, we have got some poo that was left behind in the time of the dinosaurs. This poo, if I go close up, you'll be able to see it even better. This poo was left in the time of the dinosaurs and has been turned into a fossil, a rock. Now, not all poo is turned into fossils. So our question for you is, what happens to all the poo we produce? Where does it all go? We'd love to have your ideas shared with us in by email or via social media, schools@scienceoxford.com. And while you're there, perhaps you'd like to enter our big science event. It's coming up later this year, later next year, and we'd love to have you enter that competition, and maybe we'll see you here at Science Oxford Centre next year. It's been a real pleasure. Please join us next year and get those ideas about where does all the poo go into us via email. Thank you and goodbye.